So I've got a bit of a dilemma. I'm building a large L-shaped desk, approximately 12 feet by 8 feet. This desktop is comprised of three pieces, and let me show you. I've got one piece that's 98 by 30. I've got another piece that's 52 by 52, sort of a diamond shape, and this is what makes the corner of the L. I've got a third piece that is 30 by 30. The length of this side to this side is 84 inches. I believe I can use a pipe clamp or some other sort of apparatus to help me to get the seam here glued together. But this dimension from this side to this side is 150 inches, 12 and a half feet. So I'm having a bit of trouble thinking about how I'm going to get this joint glued together. I thought about using pipe clamps, running 3 pipe clamps concurrently, joined by a couple of 3/4 inch couplings for each run. The only problem is that my pipe clamps are not threaded on all sides, so I can get a few that I think I can use on this run, but going this way, I would need to rethread the black pipe. Instead of rethreading that black pipe, I think I'm going to try a different method that was suggested to me by a good friend of mine, and that is to use ratchet straps. I'm not sure how this is going to work because the inherent nature of the straps will be to pull the ends of the panels away from each other. I think I have another solution for that. I'm going to try to use some sacrificial boards on the bottom of that seam and screw up from the bottom to keep everything flush so that when I start to strap up, when I start to ratchet up, it does not want to bow, creating a dip in the middle. We'll see how this works. I did record it, so take a look. A buddy of mine comes over to help me sort of strap this thing down, get it glued together, and get it ready to go. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Here you can see that I've got my straps connected. I've got 2 straps per side, so I have a total of 4 straps, and I've got the cabinets that the desktop sits on laid out in a way that will adequately support the desktop. I've got spacers that I temporarily glued to the top of each cabinet so that the straps didn't interfere with the bottom of the desk or get bound. Wanted to make sure also that my hooks that are hooked together there in the middle, you can see they sort of dangle, and in a second you'll see that they sort of fall down, which is okay. I've got plenty of slack in the straps. Inevitably, the weight of the hooks want to pull the strap down, but like I said, it's okay. I've got plenty of slack in there. And there's another hook there that's kind of dangling, but I'm going to go ahead and pull that one down to the floor too. So once I've got the straps where I want them, it's time to start laying down the desktop. The first piece I'm going to bring over is the long piece of the L shape. It's approximately 8 feet by 30 inches. Here I'm going to sit it down on there. Got a little bit of variability with those straps, but I also want to make sure they're out of the way. I don't want to pinch them in between the desktop and those buffer pieces that I glued to the top of the cabinets. And then here comes the big diamond shape, and it's awkward. It's pretty heavy, but it's more awkward than heavy. So enjoy the next few seconds of me struggling to get this thing into place. So now it's time to work on the top of the straps. I'm going to bring in the ratcheting portion and join the 2 hooks on the top. Another thing that I'd like to say about ratchet straps, and they worked well in this project and I use them a lot in hauling different projects and pieces, but if they could just make them to where they don't tangle, that would be amazing, because if you've got more than one of these in a pile, you're going to spend 5 minutes trying to get them untangled. I could create a whole blooper reel prior to recording this video with me standing there endlessly trying to get them untangled. Then I'm thinking, okay, I've got it this time, only to find that there's an extra hook or a knot or something that's holding it up, and it is just maddening. So after I've got the straps roughly laid out, I went ahead and fabricated a little 90-degree to help protect the desktop edges from the straps marring or leaving any sort of indentation marks when I start to tighten. This process will eventually prove futile, as when I start to tighten the straps, those 90-degree pieces pull up. So really what I should have done is I should have made sort of a U shape instead of just a little L 90 degree. I'm pretty sure that would have prevented these from pulling up when I tightened the straps. So now that I've got the straps roughly laid out, it's time to get down to business. So I called in some reinforcement. My buddy Jason, thank you for always helping me. I really appreciate it. He's helped multiple times deliver projects, always there with a helping hand. I'm gonna owe this guy multiple 4 packs of beer, whiskey, and he's gonna need to be added to the payroll one day when I make it big. So now it's come to the point of the project that I've been thinking about since I started, wondering if this is really gonna work. I'm starting by gluing both joints and getting the biscuits in there. I want to get plenty of squeeze out, so it's a little messy, but I want to make sure that I really get a good joint. I probably cut out about 2 minutes of me just trying to get enough glue on there to make sure, because there's no going back after you get that joint glued. And here we go. This is the real moment of truth. We're getting it sort of roughed in, and I'm sort of trying to get the edges to line up because I've got a chamfer on the front edge of the desk. And here's where you can see what I was referring to earlier with that little 90-degree edge protector that I fabbed up. As I start to tighten the straps, it sort of pulls up. I had Jason go over, try to pull it down, but every time I tighten the strap, it still pulls it up. As you can see, this one sort of stumped me. I'm not really sure why, because looking back on it, all I needed to do was put another piece on the bottom of that edge protector. That would have prevented it from pulling up. So we went with plan B, and I grabbed a towel, cut it in half, and we were able to use that on each side to protect the edges. And I have to say I picked a great print for the towel, sort of a leopard print multicolor mashup. Now that the edges are protected, it's time to start tightening the straps. I used a few pieces of scrap plywood underneath the actual ratcheting portion of the strap just to protect the top of the table. So let's back up a second, and let me tell you that I did loosen the straps just a tiny bit to put in these F-style clamps to make sure that even though I've got biscuits in there, I wanted to make sure that the joint was even and smooth. And even though I did distill this down to this video length, in reality, it took a lot longer for fine adjustments and making sure that everything was tight. So I think we're pretty good. Everything looks tight and flush, and I think it's just about time to crack a beer. You call this one done while the glue dries. So it's the next day, and I've let these glue joints dry. As I pretty much expected, when we went to tighten the straps, the sides of the table sort of wanted to cup, and this joint wanted to bow a bit. I sort of calculated for this, so I used some pieces of wood down here, and I screwed them to the bottom before we tightened it all the way to keep it so that it was a bit flatter. I think it still pulled a little bit, but this is kind of the moment of truth. Once I pull off these straps, hopefully it'll go down and flatten out. Another thing that I totally forgot to record yesterday was the addition of this shorter side here. And what I decided to do was I was out of straps, and so I thought the better option would be to use pipe clamps. The only problem was the pipe clamps are only around 3 to 4 feet. I've got a 7 foot span. So I found online that you can use 3/4 inch black pipe couplings to link the pipe clamps together. So I've got two on the top, one on the bottom to sort of counteract that swaying that it can do, and a few rags here just to protect the top of the. So I've got the clamps off and the joints are cleaned up, sort of smoothed out and feathered in. It worked pretty well. I would say if I were to do it again, I may think a little bit more into the bowing aspect because I do have a little bit of that bow effect in with using those straps. But overall, it holds up nice. I've gone to the other end. I've sort of tilted it up. Now, obviously, this is very long, so it's not gonna. I'm not gonna be able to lift it up from that side. So I'll need to keep someone here. Someone, I'll probably need 3 or 4 people just to get this thing up, just because of how uh, awkward of a shape it is. So, just to as a reminder, this is 12 and a half feet this way. This was 8 feet. And then over here, I had a little smaller piece on the end that totaled 7 feet. So 12 and a half feet, 7 feet in the opposite direction. And wish me luck on getting this thing out of the shop. I'm going to finish sanding it. I'm going to go through the grits and then put some finish on it. And I'm hoping that next week, in a few days, I can have a few people over, flip it, and finish the bottom. And then a few days after that, get it all ready to go, wrap it up, and head off to the client's home for the installation. If you get a chance, let me know what you think. Would you do this operation or would you find some other way to do it? Like I said, it was not ideal, but for this situation and the length that I needed to join, it worked out really well, and it'll be sort of one continuous L. I'll have more videos on this piece in the future after it's finished. I'm going to do some of the work on the cabinets themselves. They're ready to go. They're ready to finish. I've got the drawers ready. So stay tuned in the near future for more to come on this project.